Hello there, mathematicians. Today's objective is students will be able to solve one-step equations using addition and subtraction. Go ahead and get that down. Okay. A variable. Okay. A lot of you know what a variable is, but you actually don't know. Okay. So a variable is a letter. Like I said, a lot of you are familiar, but could you actually define it? A letter, for example, we often use X, so just write an X above that. Or a symbol. Okay, math team. Symbol we often use or see in math team is a smiley face. Okay, so that can be used to represent a number. So it's a letter or symbol used to represent an unknown value. Again, as you're writing this, don't just copy, think about what you're writing. Okay. Real quick, a formula is simply an equation used to solve for a variable. Quick, $5, 2 seconds if you can tell us what this formula is for. Yep, you didn't get it. Okay, this formula, perimeter, is equal to 2L plus 2W. Okay, so this formula is for perimeter. So the first question asks, what are the variables here? Okay, well, there are 3 variables here. And again, these things can change. The perimeter, the length, and the width. Okay. Again, sometimes we say width is 10, sometimes it's 15, sometimes it's 10.2. Sometimes we get a perimeter of 20, sometimes 30. Okay, so that means that those values can change. The coefficients here are just let's first go over what a coefficient is. So a coefficient is simply a number multiplied by a variable. Again, a number multiplied by a variable. Okay, and just a quick note on this. Okay, the coefficients, we always write the coefficients in front of the variables. So you notice the 2 comes before the L. So here's a good example, 2L. We wouldn't write L2. Okay, that's not in the order that we typically write it. We would write it as 2L. So the coefficients in this one are the 2 and the 2. The 2 in front of the L, the 2 in front of the W. Okay, moving right along. Solving one-step equations with addition or subtraction. The goal, when we're solving an equation, okay, is get the variable we are solving for alone on one side of equal to sign. Okay, that's our goal. We want that variable all by itself on the one side of the equal to sign. Now, one quick note is that it's still going to have a positive hidden one. So it's a positive hidden coefficient. So you don't have to write this next part. But if I just give you X, there's actually a number in front of X, and that's a hidden 1. If we give you A, there's a number in front of A, it's a hidden positive 1. Okay. Now, to reach our goal, this is so important. You are going to be asking yourselves these questions so much this year. Okay. To reach our goal, to get our variable by itself, okay, we're simply going to ask, what is being done to the variable. Or you can say, what is being done on the same side of the variable. There should be parentheses there. Okay. Once we've identified that, we simply ask ourselves, how do I undo it? What's the inverse operation? Okay. Now, inverse operations. Okay, inverse operations. The inverse of addition, okay, the inverse operation you should say is subtraction. Okay, the inverse of multiplication is, you should say the inverse is division. Okay, or you can say, what's the inverse of division? Well, multiplication. Okay. Let's do example 1 here. Okay. To figure out the first question, what is being done on the same side of the variable? You simply have to say this equation. So listen to me, and then I want you saying this out loud yourself, okay? Or in your own head. X plus 8 is equal to 98.4. So on the same side, okay, on the same side, in fact, right now, take your hand and cover up the 98.4 and the equal to sign so that all you can see, so take your finger, cover that up, so that all you can see is the x plus 8. Okay, so on the same side of the variable, on the same side of x, what we would say is being done, is we are adding 8. Okay, now we ask yourself, well, what's the inverse, or how do I undo addition of 8? Okay, so let's write inverse here, because what's the inverse of addition? Well, the inverse is subtraction. Okay. All right, one of the key concepts behind equations is this. What we need to know is, what value can we add to 8 to get us 98.4? Okay, think about a teeter-totter right now. Okay, we want that teeter, or a balance scale in science. We want that teeter-totter or balance scale for the left side to be the exact same as the right side. So we need to find this value of x that will make this equation true or balance out. Okay, so what we typically do is, in fact, we're always going to do this, draw a line straight down from that equal to sign, and then like this. Think about this as like a balance point. Okay, we always draw that line straight down from the equal to sign. Now, this right here, this tells us exactly what to do. We need to subtract 8 from both sides. Now, here's a key point. Put your pencil down and listen. Okay, because here's a really key point. Okay? Whatever you do to one side, you have to do the exact same thing to the other side. So on the left side we subtracted 8, on the right side we also have to subtract 8. And show that operation. Show the minus 8, show the minus 8. Okay, when we do this, a positive 8 minus 8, okay, cancels, or it actually gives us 0. Okay, this x we're just going to bring down. Now, do I need to show x plus 0? No, I don't. So I just bring down the equal to sign. Okay, and then 98.4 minus 8 will give me 90.4. So far I think that the value of x that would balance this equation is 90.4. Now, here's the great thing about most of algebra, is that we can actually check our answer to see if it's correct. Without the teacher, without anyone else having to tell you whether it's correct or not, you can actually check it yourself. Okay, and we're going to expect this on all your homework, on all your quizzes, and especially big tests. There's no reason to get equation problems wrong. Okay, so here's how we check this. The very first thing that you need to do is to rewrite the original problem. Okay, so the original problem was x plus 8 is equal to 98.4. Okay, now when we get to unit 4, we're going to learn the substitution. When we're substituting a value in for the variable, okay, we always use parentheses. So the number that we're substituting in for x is 90.4. 98.4. Again, your work should look exactly like mine. And then we're just going to rewrite everything else. Plus 8 is equal to 98.4. Okay. Now, I know this may seem silly, but actually do this on your calculator. 90.4 plus 8. Okay, you will get 98.4. And the question is, okay, does that number on the left balance with the number on the right? And the answer is clearly in this case, yes. Those are the exact same. If we had someone that weighed 98.4 on one side of a balance beam and someone that weighed 98.4 on the other, they would balance out. That's our goal, and we just accomplish it. So therefore, we know that the 90.4 was the answer. We shouldn't include that 0 in there. Was the answer to this problem. Okay, let's do number 2. Okay, example 2 here. Again, we're going to follow the same steps. Okay, we're going to start off by asking what's being done and then what's the inverse. Well, to figure out what's being done, just again cover up the equals and the 10.5 so that all you can see is the entire side with the variable. And you should see x minus 5.3. Okay, so that tells you what's being done. We are subtracting 5.3. That's what's being done on the same side of the variable. Then you ask, well, what's the inverse? Well, the inverse of subtraction is addition. So we need to add 5.3 to both sides. Again, draw, I call it the upside down T. Start right at the equal to sign. Okay, and this, again, right here, this told us what we need to do. So we said that we were going to add 5.3 to both sides. Oops. See the mistake that I did right there? I almost made it. I didn't put the plus 5.3. Okay? You absolutely must. This will help you avoid so many little mistakes. Show that operation. Okay? Negative 5.3 plus 5.3 will give you 0, or in other words, it cancels. So what's left on this left-hand side is just the x. That just gets brought down. Bring down the equal to sign. Okay? And then 10.5 plus 5.3 will give me 15.8. Okay? So far, I think that is the answer. I think that if I plug in 15.8 for x, okay, it will balance out that equation. Well, let's find out. Again, you can easily check it. So rewrite the original problem. X, let's see, I'm sorry, it was x minus 5.3 is equal to 10.5. Okay, again, we said the x we're substituting in, so put parentheses around the variable. And then we said that x was 15.8 is what we are substituting in. Minus, again, just rewrite everything else now. Okay. Do this quickly on your calculator. 15.8 minus 5.3, and you will get 10.5. So the question is, does 10.5 balance out with the right-hand side? The answer is yes. So, because our equation balanced with that answer that we plugged in, with that 15.8, we know that 15.8 is the correct answer to this. Okay, next, example 3. Again, we have an equation. We have an equal to sign, so we know it's an equation. We have one unknown variable, so that means we are solving for that variable. Okay, so we ask ourselves, what's being done, and then what's the inverse operation to undo it? Okay, well, to look at what's being done, look at the side with the variable. The variable's on the left, so we're going to focus on the left. On the left-hand side, we have 4 plus y. Okay, now, I want us to write a key point at the top, because this example really illustrates it. Okay, is that the key point is this. We always look at operation slash sign. So the operation or sign in front of number. Okay. So in this one, okay, we have a 4 hanging out on the same side as y. Okay, well, what is that for? Is it a positive or a negative? We always look in front of it. Well, nothing's there, so we know it's a positive 4. Okay, so what's hanging out on the same side as the y? Well, we have a positive 4 hanging out over there. And we know that a positive is the same as addition, really. Okay, so we got to ask ourselves, well, how do I get that 4 to the other side? What's the inverse? How do I undo that positive 4? And the answer is, well, I subtract 4, or you could say a negative 4. Okay, so on both sides of the equation, we have to subtract 4. Okay, now our goal is to get these two things to cancel. The positive 4 and the negative 4 in this case do cancel to be 0. And make sure you write that 0 in just so that you know what you actually get. Okay, bring down the y. So y is equal to negative 10 minus 4. Okay, to review the adding and subtracting integers, we don't like subtraction, so we keep the sign on the negative 10. We change it to addition and change the sign of only the next number. Okay, now the signs are, so now that we have addition, take the sign of the bigger number, which is 10, so it's negative, and then the signs are the same, so we find the sum, or we add them. So y in this case we think is negative 14. Okay, go ahead and check your answer now, plugging it in the exact same the way that we've been doing it, and make sure that our y is correct. So hit pause, check your answer now. Okay, as you can see from mine, your work should be the exact same, and it in fact does balance out. Okay, negative 10 does equal negative 10. Alright, let's go on. We're only going to do one more example in this video, example 4. Okay, example 4 is actually kind of tricky. Okay, if you look at this, do you see this? Say this out loud. R minus negative 9. Okay, well, this minus a negative, we have got to change. We can't do our do and our undo box yet, or doing the inverse, until we change this. So, key point on this one, we must change minus a negative to addition. Okay, and here's why. Remember, minus a negative, we change that to addition, change the sign of the next number. Okay, well, plus right here, a positive, is the same thing as just regular addition. Okay, so we're actually going to rewrite this, okay, to be negative 3 is equal to R plus 9. And again, this minus a negative turns into plus positive, which is the same as addition. Now, if you have a question on this, and I'm guessing a lot of you do, this is where you need to make a note, a question mark, about why did we change it. And it is your responsibility to ask when you get to class. We want to help you with that. Okay. Now we can make our do and our undo box. So we ask what's being done, and then what's the inverse operation. Well, look at the side with the variable. In this case, it's the right side. And if you say the right side, R plus 9, well, we're adding 9 to both sides. So we need to subtract 9. Do your upside down t from the equal to sign. Again, this right here told us what we actually need to do. We said that we need to subtract 9 from both sides. And again, you notice I'm showing the minus 9 on both sides. Positive 9 and negative 9 cancel to be 0. Bring down the r. R is equal to negative 3 minus 9. Okay, if you use the integer rules, you can write that out. You get r equals negative 12. Okay. Now, some of you may prefer to rewrite this to have the r on the left-hand side, but these are the exact same thing. Okay. Now, before I circle it, okay, I should have checked it. I did on my notes here, but you guys absolutely have to show your work and check this. Okay, so go ahead and right now show your work exactly the way you've been taught and get this checked. Okay, when you check this, plug this part right here in exactly the way you see it. Okay, again, we use parentheses. Okay, so punch in on your calculator. The negative button, 3, is equal to parentheses, negative button, 12, close parentheses, minus button, again, parentheses, negative button, 9, close parentheses, and hit equals. And actually, I'm sorry, I just really messed that up. Just plug in this part right here, okay? So the negative, just plug in this part on your calculator and see if that equals the negative 3, okay? And you will see that it in fact does. So our equation balanced out, which tells us, yes, in fact, R is negative 12.